how we can make this move for equality. We need to have more women in high position in the top. Today, when you have women in entrepreneurship, is more for not actually they want to go through, but they go through the difficulties becoming a mom, for example. What we can make together, men and women in a high position, to change this.
Do you think that sons get more opportunities in a family? The boys get more opportunities?
Yeah, for sure, 100%. But I can say to you right now is that all the voices that can say that you cannot should bring all the strength to say for them what to me.
Hello and a warm welcome to a very special podcast on She Diaries, brought to you by Sheatwork, a one-stop knowledge hub for women entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs in association with BRICS CCI WE, the women's empowerment vertical of the BRICS Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I'm your host, Gaurav Chaudhary. In this series, we have some exemplary guests, each one an icon in their field of work, each one an outstanding change maker. Join me in this podcast as we learn to break barriers, negate notions, and strive to steadily create a more equitable, gender-equal society for all. For this episode, I'm delighted to have Ms. Geovana Quadros, founder, Inspiring Women Platform, and leader the Genero Startup 20, Task Force ESG G20, Brasil. A very warm welcome, Geovana. Delighted to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, Genero, and thank you for BRICS CCI, this opportunity, right?
Yeah. So, let's start off with a very basic question for my own understanding, also understanding of our viewers and listeners. What inspired you to create this platform, Inspiring Women? And if you can just briefly tell me the kind of impact your programs have created across Brazil.
Yes. This year we complete 10 years of work. I started 10 years ago. I came from international business. I'm from Amazonia, actually. So I start in my original city, Belém, that are going to be the top 30 city to receive. And then I start from there. I launched a book in 2015 where I put together all the men leadership for my country to say their stories a long time ago. After that, my movement started with only 20 ladies from C-level. Mm-hmm. After that, I start to research in the market, the movements, and we didn't have anyone concerning high leadership. So I started with 20 women. After that, today we have over 2,000 C-level women, also some artists and influencers from our society, where together we can bring more women in C-level position. Because if we want to change anything concerning gender, we need to see who is up in the top. In our case, not only in Brazil, but global, worldwide, we need to see over 50% of the women, over 50% of the population of women. We are the mother of the other health. Right. So how we can make this move for equality, we need to have more women in high position in the top.
But just for context, what is the proportion of women in C-suite positions in Brazil at this point, particularly the organized corporate sector?
Yeah, we have still few as globally. We are over a little bit 30% of women in leadership. If you go scale to C-level, it's less, even though. So they are not together because they are multi-sectorial, right? Different kind of sectors. So my movement watch in the way we can bring them together to make a movement together. This is the idea.
But 30% is still very high and commendable compared to many parts of the world. So if I may say so, I think that's still a very strong foundation, and also reflects probably a strong culture of female leadership in Brazil. But having said that, for women, what are the unique challenges if you have to rise to the top? In India, we have a very different set of challenges. We have just sociological challenges. There are challenges of social structures, family structures, etc., etc. But in Brazil, which is a completely different part of the world, the cultures are very different. Having said that, I think there are still a large number of challenges that women have to surmount to reach leadership positions. What are these challenges?
Mm-hmm. I think the challenges are globally, from Brazil perspective, in the global forum agenda, we're still very low to get into high positions. I think that the first one is to have more women in leadership. If, for example, a kid that is in the school, that is a girl, look to up, they don't see the same, how she can understand that there is a place where she can be it. In different sectors as STEAM, science, technology, finances, still even though the number is very low. So if I see only the same men's in the same category, how can I see that is a place for me to be it? So, and still in the beginning, when I'm studying, when I'm looking up, and I don't see the same. So we don't have diversity, and we don't have it. Is a very strong problem in gender. If I go through a racial perspective, is even worse.
Really?
Yeah, because we have many Black women in our society, and the number is even worse than that. So we don't have perspectives to go up. But if we don't have women in the top, that's gonna be more 130 years. That is the global forum is saying to us.
So it's 130 years to establish
gender
some
gap.
kind of a gender parity at the top.
Gender gap. So we have a lot of challenges to go through, but I point the first one is to have more women in leadership, because this we can have a representativeness and social, economic, and in different sectors, and today we don't have it. So it's not a particular single action, but actually 360 different movements. And education, where you can see kids, boys and girls understanding about the importance to not to be particularly put in a box in a society. Because today, when you have women in entrepreneurship, is more for not actually they want to go through, but they go through the difficulties becoming a mom, for example. So you have to find out. We see in Brazil when we have we go through maternity leave. When I go back for the corporations, over 50% do not fit anymore inside the market. So what we do with these women that actually generate new human beings, the market's not prepared for this. So
how can you deal with it? We also have a similar problem in India, more or less,
globally,
where people, women, once they go on a maternity leave, by the time they rejoin work, they would have seen that they have, they have fallen back on the career progress significantly, and it's very difficult to again catch up. But something needs to be done. How is Brazil addressing this?
Yeah, actually, in the corporation, as globally, is the same difficulty. So we had in some years ago for the COVID discussion on economy, to get back to the economy, and we were in the governmental room where this kind of discussion are doing. And I did a movement with Inspire Women platform with different leadership of different sectors. And this was not so many years ago now in the COVID, and was the first time where we have those women in high positions sitting there. And it's just now. So how we can address this together. I think that who is in the top today are the men's. For that reason, I call the allies. What we can make together, men and women in a high position, to change this. If the woman comes out for maternity leave and she come back, cannot get into the market again, it's not because of her, actually. It's because the market's not prepared, not only Brazil, but globally. So it's not inequality because of the men and women, but can I say it's inequality because men and mothers, probably. So
do mothers in Brazil have a son preference? Do they prefer sons over daughters while bringing up?
yeah, how do you mean, actually?
Do you think that sons get more opportunities in a family? The boys get more opportunities?
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Because you will raise. Imagine when you have a boy and you have a girl, what kind of plays you do since they are very little. The girls, you give flowers, you make like, don't do that. You're gonna hurt the girl. You see, it's very implicit, but right. So don't do that. She's fragile, in other words, right? And for the boys, let's play of science, the cars, the flights, and how we are raised these kids, not only in Brazil again, but globally. How we are doing as fathers and mothers. And one of the movements in Brazil, I'm as ambassador. We only have 5 days of paternity leave in Brazil, officially. That is less days. Then we have a carnival that is happening right now. So how we can make this movement if all the maternity is only due it to the women, since they are both parenting. So how we can make this different. In some countries of Iceland and Europe, they have less gender gap, but they have 160 different kind of actions in education, political, so on. And one of them that I read and I like so much is that you have obligation in paternity leave for both, not only for the mother, because if you make the choice, usually who gonna be in charge? Only gonna be the mother, the woman, right?
That's right.
So if you are in obligation, the company gonna see both of them as equal time and maternity leave or paternity leave.
Prejudices, the bias is actually setting at home when the kids are around.
Because even if you have obligation, but you can choose, the side that's gonna choose are gonna be women all the time. So in Iceland, if I record myself, they do it for both of them, and they has less gender gap.
You are also a leader in the ESG at the G20 Startup 20, and one of the primary charters of that is also to bring in gender inclusivity. ESG, of course, is a very globally hot issue, but gender inclusivity remains a global challenge. How do you see gender inclusivity shaping the global sustainability agenda? If the sustainability agenda has to go through, if we have to get serious about climate action and the climate crisis that has reached our doorsteps, then it has to be gender inclusive. You cannot have a situation where it is only gender biased. What's your view on that?
Yeah, being a woman from Amazonia, and knowing that the capital is gonna be in my city, that is Belém, is even more strong for me on that role. We just, in the end of the last year, we delivered the communiqué, that is a report, international. And actually, we received this role from India. We made in Brazil 2004 and 2024 now. and we are delivering for South Africa this year. In my sector, that is gender on ESG, I came across the report saying that we cannot talk about gender, climate agenda, new economy, or sustainability if you cannot talk about women and as a focus, central information for all this. And we need to see as transversal in each letter, in the E, in the S, and the G.
Correct.
We need to see gender in all this perspective.
Right.
I recommended in my report to look for entrepreneurs from startups, medium and little companies from Amazonia, because it's my city and is the place where we don't have any opportunity for STEAMs, science, technology, and all this. And usually the investors, they bring to the table that we don't have women in as entrepreneurs in startups or in technology, even less. And when we have it, they don't give any investment in a high proportion. They bring to bear that they don't exist. If they exist, they cannot manage high amounts of money for investment. So we have over today 90% women in startups. But if you see big ventures capitals that only invest 12% on women business today. So we don't have, if you go to Amazonia, we don't have any kind of voices from there. So how we can take all this argue off in order to see our region, if COP30 is there and all the focus and concentration in this agenda, why we cannot move these opportunities, these investments for the women's hands. So this is the opportunity. Instead of only being the report, I'm bringing this to COP30 as a movement of gender high leadership, as I have in my platform, to the new entrepreneurs, women in my region. So I put them together as a mentorship program, where the investors can also bring this money for the table.
Absolutely. And finally, Geovana, the final question is, what is your advice to young women in Brazil and across the world, of course, Amazonia, who aspire to break barriers and assume leadership position?
Is a phrase where I should have been heard before in my early stage, but I can say to you right now, is that all the voices that can say that you cannot should bring all the strength to say for them, watch me.
Right. Very well said. Thank you so much, Geovana, for sharing your deep insights and perspective and taking the time out and dropping by to have this conversation.
Thank you for this opportunity.
I'd like to host you.
Thank you.
So that's it from us for this episode. Stay tuned for more.